Simpler is than that.
Bonjour.
Can you hear the Welshing? I can't hear a fucking thing. Ooh.
I've just seen old Mackenzie Kirk has just scored for the Northern Ireland under-21s as well.
He has.
Decent. Is it? Because he's been left out of the squad, isn't he? Has he just been left out?
Yeah,
Like for us, the last
that's
two games.
just selection.
Interesting.
Martino's lost the plot.
Well, the fact that then it means you basically have no striker apart from Bishop on available is a bit bizarre, but
Well, it worked out not too bad in the end, I suppose, with it. Got it spot on. Swift running the show Saturday.
So all I did was spend my whole game shouting at him and telling him to fuck off.
That's the spirit.
I can't watch him. He just pisses me off. His lazy attitude just annoys me.
The thing is, I think with him, I think he's one of those players that looks like he's lazy and he's got a lazy look in his face, but
He has, and he is. I think Kosneski come on and did more about 10 seconds of being on the pitch than Swift did the whole game.
yeah, I liked him when he came on. Like the thing is, with those sort of, actually, we should probably save this sort of chat, but I just think that you sort of look for little glimpses at the start, and because they're not going to be going at full pelt. So, and the little glimpses he did, I thought it looked quite good. I thought personally.
Yeah, I'd rather have him than Swift. So
save your chat for next week.
It's not saying nothing.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pompey Patter podcast. This is a special episode, as you can see in the title. There's only one Milan. I am joined tonight by Russ and Daz. Good evening, boys.
evening, mate.
Hello, mate. You all right?
How are we? All right?
Yeah, good. I didn't know if Russ was going to hold on for a bit, so I didn't start talking until he said something.
No, we only do that.
Not when it's something serious as tonight, Daz.
We only do that to
you.
you, Daz. Anyway.
That's fine. Well, we did it to Russ last time, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
So tonight we will also be joined by the News' chief sports writer Neil Allen, who will be joining us in about 10 and 15 minutes' time. Tonight is a little bit different to our usual episode. It felt only right that we dedicated an episode to our former owner and chairman, Milan Mandaric, who sadly passed away last week at the age of 87. So this episode is made in his memory to talk about the impact he had on the club and the memories and stories some of us may have. Milan was an icon of Portsmouth Football Club and became a legend, which not many owners will ever become legends of a club. He came in and saved us at one of our weakest moments, and he took us from the brink of extinction to the promised land of the Premier League. Milan had a lasting impact in football, not only at Pompey, but also at Sheffield Wednesday and Leicester City, who were the other two English clubs he owned, as well as Nice and others abroad. It seems very fitting, actually, that Leicester is our next game away next weekend. In our centenary season, Pompey were in a financial turmoil under the ownership of Martin Gregory, losing a reported around £40,000 a week, which was quite a bit of money at that point. Manager Alan Ball was also removed of his transfer duties, and this was handed to an agent called Atoll Still, having basically no choice but to sell our best players for very low prices. One that almost happened but didn't quite was John Aliossi joining Charlton, but they couldn't agree personal terms. The fee agreed at that point was £800,000, but Alan Ball claimed he was at least a £2 million player. With a pitch invasion at half-time versus Grimsby, and then another one at the full-time whistle, despite it being a peaceful protest, the fans showed how they felt about the situation. Gregory's position became untenable and he stepped down in December 1998 as chairman due to the protests getting larger against him. In January 1999, you had the Pompey faithful marching down Frogmore Road with the Pompey coffin, the day of their 1-0 win at home against Huddersfield, with the club on its knees and the coffin signalling basically the end of the club, which everyone kind of thought it would be at the time. The club went into the administration in February 1999, just about surviving relegation on goal difference, with Milan Mandaric coming in and buying the club in May 1999. Mandaric bought the club after being introduced to the Portsmouth by former player Preki. He obviously put a fair bit of money into the club, which ultimately led to us winning the Championship, or Division 1 at the time, and getting promoted to the Premier League, and having such players as Paul Merson, and in the season previous having Robert Prosanecki, having players of those talent, being able to keep us up and then getting us promoted. Boys, it's a sad one, isn't it? It really is. It's one that he made such an impact in. He only owned us for what, 7-8 years, but he made such a lasting impact within such a short time.
Yeah, he and it was never dull under Milan, was it?
No, definitely not.
Real character of the game as well. He was. Well, I was quite young when it all, when it looked like the club was going to die. I don't think I appreciated how serious it was at the time. As you're a little bit older, you might have hit you a bit harder than it did me at the time. Like, reflect on it now, you know the seriousness of it. I just couldn't wait to go and watch Pompey play. But I do remember the heartbreaking thing was watching the likes of Aloisi and just trying to think of some of the other players. Was it Paul Hall and that go for what felt like nothing at the time, because Hannibal was right. Aloisi was what, top scorer of Division 1 now, Championship. He easily could have gone for millions, but he was sold on the cheap. Slap in the face, really. It was just a hard time, a scary time. But the day, Milan come in, saved the club, and he loved the club. You could tell he loved the club. He always says he regrets selling us. His happiest times were at Pompey. I still can remember him going in the Fratton end. I don't know. Do you remember that, Daz? I think he sat. Was it for half a game or something like that in the Fratton ends? He just, anything he could do. When we got promoted, it was waving. There was only one team in Hampshire, aimed at them, not down the road. The man understood the club, which is always important, whether you're a player, a manager, or an owner. Would you say, Daz?
Yeah. Like, for me, Milan Mandaric was the first owner that, like, when I was obviously as a kid supporting Pompey, that I started to recognise, like, the owners before that. Just because for me as a kid, I just wanted to watch the football. So all that stuff behind the scenes, things that I didn't really take into consideration, or just didn't notice it and stuff like that. Because I think, especially for young kids watching football, they shouldn't have to worry about all the politics and that goes on in football and behind the scenes. It's just enjoy watching the team on the pitch. So for me, and that's the thing, I was ball boy in the season John Aloisi was playing and stuff like that. So sort of I remember obviously being in the ground pretty much every week, being around, but not really taking into consideration all the other stuff that was happening. Which I think is a good thing, because otherwise I would have been absolutely scarred just from that age. And as a kid, I just loved watching football, and going to if someone offered me to go to any ground in the country, I would have gone, just because I just loved watching football. So Milan Mandaric was the first owner that I really took notice of, and yeah, and he was a massive character, wasn't he? He was there at the right time for us. Again, Russ, with that stuff about obviously the coffin going down Frogmore Road, like I knew of it, but again, it was like I didn't appreciate it as I do now. And I suppose when we've been on the bones of our ass from like coming back down from the Premier League, it kind of makes you feel like that's how people would have felt more at that time, like my age then. Um, so yeah, I mean, like the good thing, not the good thing, but obviously when people like this do pass away, you get to hear stories that you never really knew of, and it's like it's really interesting. And the sign of a good man, and like in the football world, a good owner, is the fact that he's loved at every club he's been at. I don't think you get that at many clubs.
Do you? So you just said you're a ball boy. Were you there? Were you there when the Grimsby game where the fans went on the pitch up?
No. So I was ball boy the season that we were building the Fratton end, the new Fratton end. So that, I think that was, what year was that? So I was ball boy the season the Fratton end opened, because it opened against Swindon
And yeah,
at home. It
so
was
that
like
was Aloisi's first season, wasn't it? Then, so that was what,
yeah,
98.
yeah. I think it was around about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
98. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, as I said, like when I was younger, like when I try and look back at memories, try to remember certain seasons, I can't. Obviously, I can remember the season first started supporting Pompey and things like that, but picking out regular seasons. And then obviously there was a bit of a time when I got into playing football a lot myself as a kid. So I didn't get down to Fratton as much, because obviously being from Winchester, my mum was a single mum. Like, obviously my dad's a scummer, so he was never going to take me down to Pompey games and things like that. So I got down when I could, but obviously I was playing football a lot more as a kid, so there was a bit of a gap in like sort of knowing exactly what happened every season and things like that, because obviously didn't have social media as a kid, didn't have like phones and stuff like that to be able to check scores. So, but yeah, I do remember like obviously the coffin and that sort of stuff, and because them going on the pitch, obviously that was actually live on ITV, wasn't it?
Sky, yeah, it
Was it
was
Sky?
Sky
Yeah,
game, yeah, which
I
is why
thought
they
it was ITV.
because being on in them days, you're lucky to be on Sky once or twice a season.
Yeah,
But now it's like all the
all the
fucking
time.
time.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's why they did it. And I think if I remember rightly, even talking about the Fratton end opening in against Swindon, I think even then we were trying to get Gregory out, if my memory serves
mm,
me right. I remember people holding up signs saying Gregory out, and you're talking 18 months before Mandaric eventually,
yeah.
because at that point was Venables around. I think he was.
That
Or the
was
Aussies come
well, yeah, because he brought all the Aussies in, didn't he? But
in.
but Venables didn't really hang around for long, because obviously, because
He was part of the reason why we were in the money
but
trouble, wasn't it?
yeah, because it was Fennick. He was the manager at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah, before Ball, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then obviously he left towards the end of the season, yeah, and then Ball came in, didn't he, to sort of like save us pretty much. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's like again, you'd have to speak to like people that obviously were a little bit older at the time to really know the in-depth stuff. Because as I said, as a kid, I just loved watching the football. All the stuff behind the scenes, I didn't pay any attention to, because
Well,
like
I
you
can
shouldn't.
remember like people. I didn't go to the Grimsby game when they were on the pitch, but I know a couple of people at school who did, and they just thought it was funny that they got to sit on the pitch because we were probably like 10, 11 years old whenever it was. So uh,
Yeah,
as we said, you just didn't really appreciate it.
no,
But I do remember the coffin quite vividly, because I believe we played. It was before Huddersfield, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was in the build up to the home game against Huddersfield.
And I believe we had a 10-minute silence of no singing, and then Steve Claridge decided to score with about 6 minutes on the clock or something like that, and then that just completely killed the 10-minute silence.
Yeah,
Which,
I think I've heard him say something about that on a podcast or an interview, actually, Steve Claridge. But I can't say for definite. But
yeah,
like, so that rings a bell. Actually, now you've said that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we did like a 10-minute silence sort of protest, and then typical Pompey just goes and scores within the first 10 minutes.
We should try that maybe every week now. Then just for to be quiet. Just
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. But yeah, and like the thing is, as you said, like obviously you said about your friends that because they were just happy to be on the pitch because they didn't really appreciate what was going on. It was just being on the pitch as a 10-year-old. It's like at the end of like I can remember being as a kid, like at the end of every season, the last home game of the season, everyone got on the pitch, and like they're the sort of things you don't appreciate until those sort of things are stopped. And yeah, so I suppose when sort of things change, you sort of realise what's going on, and um, I'm kind of glad that at that time I kind of didn't know as a kid what was going on because I might have fallen out of love with football a little bit. I think,
Possibly, yeah. But then when Mandaric come in,
yeah,
it was just pure. Well, no, I wouldn't say chaos. I think that's a bit harsh.
Organised chaos.
Yeah, because the bloke had no patience. You only have to read Redknapp's book about how every week he wanted to sack out Graham Ricks. And Redknapp could be in a technical director at the time was the one saying, "No, give him a chance, give him a chance."
He also wanted to not pay the players, didn't he? When we lost,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
and he
West
was like,
Brom.
"No, no, you can't do that. Why not? Though they were shit. Yeah, but you still got to pay them, though, mate."
Yeah, and I think Mandaric was one of the first owners to ever actually. I think he like paid anyone who went by coach to a game, and gave them their money back or gave them free coach
Mm.
tickets for the next game or something like that. Never really been done before, especially at Pompey anyway. Um, but yeah, he sort of definitely wanted to do his things his way all the time, and he did. He always tried to bring eyes on the club. You think of the Kawaguchi transfer, uh,
yeah.
Prozinecki. You had. Do you remember, Daz? Do you remember a player called Redonja?
Donja.
Yeah, he was. I think he was Serbian, and he was a Milan. Milan knew him and that. And I think he was supposed to be the Prozinecki before the Prozinecki, and it just didn't take off.
No, I don't think. I think that period just before like Prozinecki came in is a kind of like period. As I said, when I was younger, I was more playing football and didn't get down to games much
Mm.
because like that season, obviously Prozinecki was there. Like, we beat Man City at home 2-1, didn't we? I think like Crouch scored. Peter Crouch scored two, and that was
No,
kind of
Bradbury and Crouch.
yeah, that's it. Bradbury and Crouch. Because that was around those seasons where I didn't get to many games as much because obviously as I said, mum being single, like dad being a scummer, like couldn't and I was playing football, couldn't get down to games that much. So trying to remember like the sort of random names is yeah, no, I wouldn't have like twigged those at the time. But like to be like think the thing is you don't mind a crazy owner who feels like join the wanting to sack a manager every 2 minutes, like the kind of the Watford sort of scenario, if like the owner's got the best interest of the fans at heart and stuff like that. Because he said organised chaos, you sort of take it on the chin, and as long as you're sort of doing things for the fans, like him bringing in Prozinecki and things like that, like, even though I know he wants to make the team better, like from what I get from that is that's bringing a player that wants to entertain the fans, and as an owner, him wanted to do that as well. Um, it's interesting seeing like people put on social media the people that met him just said how nice he was, and I saw is Pompey Mush in it? Is that the lad? Is a YouTube young lad of YouTube?
Yeah,
Pompey
yeah.
and
And
Imush, yeah.
yeah, and I saw his interview with Milan Mandaric. I think it was like not that long ago.
Last year, when he had the game against Sheffield Wednesday, Milan.
I think he might have been, yeah. And he took the time out to speak to him and like listen to like his answers to the questions. It's like he was generally a good person, like to like sort of take time out for the fans, and that's what you want. You want like your owners. They don't have to be your best mate, but they just have to respect the fans and give fans the time when it's needed.
I
That's
think.
it. And with sorry, Russ,
That's okay.
with owners, it's always a hard relationship to get with fans, especially with a fan base like us. For to be Pompey is so passionate and so like we'll tell you if we're not happy, kind of thing. And to be able to kind of get us and get the club was such an important part of what he did here, and I think that's why it always felt like it wasn't quite. It never felt like it was quite the end. It always felt like there might be a bit extra to do with us rather than with Wednesday. Um, as we say that, our guest, the chief sports writer for the News, Neil Allen, joins us. Good evening, Neil.
Evening, everyone okay?
All
Yeah, all
good.
good, mate. You?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure actually, to be honest, because last time you came on here, I got told I had to wear a Saints top and put it as my profile picture. So I'm a little bit worried you coming back on.
Oh, really? I'll tell you what, I have got a bone to pick with you guys.
Oh,
All
go
right,
on.
yeah.
How can you possibly pitch Herman Heralison against Michael Doyle?
It's
Blame has.
Yeah.
no. It's
Oh,
what the
dear me.
It's what the random name generator picked.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been present when both have been drunk, right?
And who would you rather not go up against?
Herman Heralison is a jolly drunk. Yeah, I've seen him climbing a bar, buy shots for everyone, shout skull, get told to get off the bar, get people in headlocks. He's a jolly drunk. Michael Doyle, I saw at the night of the Notts County promotion part in Palmerston Road, and he was a menace. He was patrolling, looking for a fight, throwing bar stools around. Yeah, you don't mess with Michael Doyle when he's had a drink.
Well, I think
No, I won't mess with him. Full stop.
no.
No, no.
That's why I voted for him.
Yeah, I voted Michael
Yes,
Doyle. No, I'm quite surprised. I was surprised he didn't win it, to be honest.
No, me too.
Actually.
but both have got dark arts on the pitch. I've seen games and Herman's just kept put. I think it was Liam Lawrence at Stoke, and Herman kept putting his collar up all game to wind him up. Just bizarre things like that. But Doyle is proper dark arts on the pitch. Nicest man in the world off it, Michael Doyle. But on the pitch, you speak to anyone that's played against him, yeah, he's an animal.
Yeah, sure is. So Neil, what year did you become chief writer? You know, part of the News.
I started the News, funny enough, 25 years ago next month.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, Milan was chairman.
so Milan was already here.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first sort of encounter with him?
I remember a very early one when he was going over to the Isle of Wight with Johnny Moore and another director, and for some reason I had to go with him. So I went along with him, and he's just lovely, really nice guy. Loved to talk to people. It was just not what you expect from an owner. Well, especially these days, you get owners like that. And for a long while after Milan left, Pompey didn't have an owner like it either. The owners couldn't be asked speaking to the fans because they were dodgy. But Milan loved speaking to fans. He embraced it. He loved the publicity. He loved them singing his name. He wasn't a shrinking violet. He wasn't. He loved the limelight, and I don't mean that insultingly. He just liked to be the centre of attention, Milan. But it was. I've said before, he had this gift, and Harry Redknapp's got this same gift. I would say they can walk into a room and strike up a conversation with anyone, and that person will feel like they're special and they're their best friend. Certain people in life have that gift, and they are like that, and they will walk in a room and also lift a room with their presence. They don't show off; they just talk to people, human beings, and I think it's a very special trait.
Do you think that's why he connected with the fans so well, and that relationship was able to be built up? Because as you say, like even now, we don't necessarily hear a lot from directly from the Eisners. Obviously, they're over in America,
Mm.
whereas they're not present every match day. Obviously, you've got Cullen and Rich Hughes, like some of the people, but they're not the direct owners. But having the actual owner there themselves pretty much every game and being present, do you think that's why the fans kind of associated and like kind of took him on?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly touching the current owners. Michael Eyes is about 83 now.
Oh yeah,
So
it wasn't. It's not a dig at. It's not a dig
no,
at all that
I'm
they should
saying
be there.
so there is that issue coming across regularly, isn't there? But with Milan, the thing with Milan as well. I mean, not talking about the Islanders, but with Milan, he was a football man, basically a football man. So because he was a football man, loved the game, had been in the game a long time before he came here. He was mates with Pele and George Best in the American leagues in the late 70s and things. He owned a club over there. So he loved football. So because he loved football, he loved the environment. He loved the fans. Now we later saw Sasha Gajdamak, who had no interest in football, didn't go to that many of the games. Bizarrely missed a couple of European games, which I could never quite get my head round. Had no interest in speaking to anybody. You could debate forever what the hell he was doing there in the first place. But he didn't have that link with the fans. He didn't have that link with football. It was a waste of space, really. But Milan loved speaking to people. That's what he was about. He loved the attention, and it created a special time. And although people were frustrated over Milan sacking managers and all sorts and meddling, and he got. Let's not forget, he was ruthless. He was brutal. He was a successful businessman. He wasn't lovely, fluffy Milan all the time. I mean, let's not forget, he threatened to sack Graham Ricks unless he played Yoshi Kawaguchi in goal at Sheffield Wednesday.
Really? So that was I've heard
happened.
that rumor. That was true.
That happened.
Jeez.
That happened. Yeah, I spoke to many people about it. Yeah, so Yoshi hadn't played many games since he came across. Dave Bessett was in goal, and on the day of the Sheffield Wednesday game, Milan basically instructed somebody to tell Graham Ricks if Yoshi wasn't picked for that game, then he would get the sack.
And then conceded a goal 30 odd seconds later.
Yeah, and Pompey still won 3-2. So so you don't. That stuff happens on on dream teams, isn't it? On Ted Lasso and things like that. That doesn't happen in real life, but it happened at Pompey. That was Milan.
It was
crazy.
kind of, as like Russ said, it was kind of, we came across it as like organised chaos under Milan. He kind of, as you said, he did get it, but yeah, okay, he made a few strange decisions, but he made it out of the goodness of his own heart and with best intentions each time.
Yeah. Well, he was wildly unpredictable, and he was volatile, explosive. But he calmed down, and he never bore grudges. But there was a time when the players weren't doing very well, so he refused to pay them for a month. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, but just before we come on.
That's just mad, isn't it? And there's all these sort of things that he was involved in, and it was incredibly passionate about the game as well. But it's sort of person that everyone who met Milan Mandaric remembers meeting him. That's the impact he had, and even when he left the football club in September 2006, he took all the local press to the Pizza House restaurant in Hilsey, and he bought us dinner and he gave us each a bottle of wine to go home with. That was just a wonderful touch of the man. That was. He was very clever with the press, actually, clever with the media as well, because he always helped us out. He always answered the phone, and through his own chaos, he always gave us stories. Whether you asked them or not, you got a story off Milan Mandaric with the nonsense that was going on.
So when all the stuff was happening with Redknapp and Jim, did Mandaric threaten to sack Smith? Is that why Redknapp left the first time? Is that true?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. And also he brought in an executive director, Belimir Zajic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who was going to be some sort of director of football, ironically, which is Redknapp's first role at the club. And Redknapp quite rightly said, "Oh, wait a minute, we're doing really well here. We've got a great setup here. It's comfortably staying in the Premier League. Why are you bringing in somebody above us to perhaps sign players or whatever? It didn't need that." So it was a combination of that and Jim Smith. And rightly, Harry Redknapp was miffed about the whole thing. So he felt undervalued. So yeah, that was they were the two reasons. At the time, Redknapp said some nonsense about I need a break from football, and I remember speaking to Jim Smith outside, and he actually said, he goes, if you believe that, you believe anything. So he let the cat out of the bag there. Did Jim Smith, but yeah, it was all over that. It was all that was the argument with Milan, and credit to the pair of them to then make up 12 months later and bring him back
Which
when he was even
obviously
more
then,
successful.
then involved sending a lovely little present
Yeah,
across to the opposite chairman.
yeah. Now Rupert Lowe is reinventing himself these days, isn't he? But anyone who came across him when he was at Southampton, it was a public school boy, hockey boy. He used to walk around with a tracksuit top with his initials on, trying to be one of the football boys. Um, um, very superior, very elitist character. And and Milan tried several times to negotiate a payoff for Redknapp coming back to Pompey. And Milan became a bit frustrated that Rupert Lowe was always on duck hunts. So Milan, who had a wicked sense of humour, he, he got Peter Storey's wife to buy a dead duck, and he put it in a box. He got somebody to wrap it up with Christmas wrapping paper, and then Aqua Taxis drove it to St Mary's and delivered it. Rupert Lowe was so offended, he complained to the FA, who did nothing, probably just laughed in the offices and dismissed it. But and then of course the story comes out, and I last spoke to Milan about it about 3 years ago, and yeah, it was it's just brilliant, isn't it? It's just pure Milan around those times, and Rupert Lowe, couldn't see anything amusing about it whatsoever, and Milan and everyone around Pompey found it absolutely hilarious.
Well,
So
that makes more sense now with the dead duck, because I didn't realise it was because of Rupert Lowe likes to do duck hunting. I thought maybe it was some like culture thing, obviously, because
no,
from where Milan's from. I thought, do they send people
oh.
dead ducks when they ignore them or something?
Yeah, he portrays himself as a man of the people these days, Rupert Lowe, but that was the situation back then anyway. So him and Milan were very different people. Rupert Lowe was not a football person, Milan was. So yes, and I dread to think how Harry Redknapp got on with Rupert Lowe as well. Dear me, they're chalk and cheese as well. So that's what the situation was, and Rupert Lowe, being Rupert Lowe, complained to the Premier League. Please, sir, he sent me a horrible gift. I don't know what he expected the Football League to do about it.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, I've no idea. Yeah, so that was the situation there. And I say, when I met Milan about 3 years ago, I talked about it, and he said the whole thing with just a wry smile. It was just so funny. It was just, and that just sums up Milan Mandaric.
Do you think? Obviously, in the last few years, we're back in the Championship after being down in League Two. Do you think they were the best years in the last since you've been here under Milan, even maybe over the FA Cup win?
Well, Milan's the best years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a really good question, because Harry said it the other day that for him, the Division One title winning side of 2002-03, that season he prefers that to winning the FA Cup.
Yeah,
And I know a lot of fans feel exactly the same.
Yeah, I've always said I even preferred the first year in the Premier League.
Well, the thing is that season when we won Division One, old Division One Championship, whatever. Like, whenever we played, I always thought, I don't care if the other team score, we're going to win the game anyway. Like, it didn't matter if the other team scored, we were going to win. Felt so confident. That's probably the only season I felt so confident that we're going to win every single game. I probably agree. It's probably my favourite season, to be fair.
Yeah, so it was the style of football, the goals, the high scoring Pompey victories, the fact that Pompey was so much better than everyone else, the fact you've got Paul Merson in midfield, and Pompey weren't even favourites to go up that season.
That was 24-1, weren't we?
Yeah, and then they beat Nottingham Forest 2-0 start of the season. And
It's the Palace game that made me believe.
yeah, and so suddenly it went from there, didn't it? It was just an incredible year. You've got people like Matt Taylor in the team as well. Tazoo, Primer's fought his way back. So it was a great team, and I think it says a lot that Redknapp prefers that to winning the FA Cup. I'm sure the FA Cup's the only trophy of his career, really.
It's only major, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, major other than that title. So yeah.
But I think from a fan's perspective, it's probably for himself actually is probably, when you get in the Premier League, there's a chance any team can win it. Really, it's unlikely, but there is. You've had Palace recently, you've had Wigan and people. But we were just all I ever knew as a Pompey fan was fighting relegation, and then all of a sudden we're top of the league, running away with it.
Yeah.
It came from nowhere, and even Redknapp, when Merson talks about when he phoned them up and said, "Look, I've got a shit team, but do you fancy coming down and playing for us?" Do you know? So even Redknapp probably didn't necessarily believe that we'll go up.
Yeah, and then we talk about Milan as well. There were the great moments when Pompey stayed up on the last day after beating Barnsley 3-0. So you've got a great escape one there, and of course Milan's last full season was the great escape in the 2005-06 season. So that you've got those memories as well with Milan there with Harry. Sorry. The Barnsley one's actually Graham Rix. So you got those memories anyway with Milan. So they're just
you've even got the memories of Prosneski.
Yeah.
What he was, to watch. If I could go back in time and watch that season again, I would.
Although it just made me laugh because a lot of people at the time moaned about Prosneki's lack of effort and energy and laziness on the pitch.
Yeah, I can imagine he's that one on Twitter. Imagine Twitter now with Prosneski.
Oh, dear. Actually, the other one is I'll always remember that when Pompey got their new kit sponsors for the 2002 season with a tie heart. You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, so many people complained about that.
Well, the gold kit.
So many people complain, but then because Pompey started doing well, it's become iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why I always say about the gold kit. I can vividly remember hating that kit when it came out. Now it's one of my favourite kits. I've got it in my wardrobe.
And it's a great kit. You look at it now, yeah.
I just think of Paul Merson.
Yeah, but at the time, people go, "Well, why we got a love heart on our chest? What's this about? Why are we sponsored by teddy bears?" There were loads of complaints, but success changes everything, doesn't it? And now it's an iconic, one of the great Pompey kits without doubt because of that season. That's how good that season was.
Yeah, and it was.
Well, wasn't the TY put on the top of the Fratton end as well?
Yeah,
it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
So what was it like, Neil, when one day you went to a press and there was thousands of Japanese journalists around?
Yeah, well, I used to go quite a bit around that time as well, especially because there were loads of them, absolutely stacks. Peter Jeffs, who was the club's press officer at the time, said that one morning he came downstairs at home, opened his curtains, and there were 5 Japanese journalists sat on the wall outside. So they were very enthusiastic. They're everywhere, and every press conference Graham Rick took, they would say to him, "Why you no play Yoshi?" Every single press conference. And Graham Rix, to be fair to him, he never lost his rag. He never snapped or bit, which he could have easily done because that's all that he was ever asked. And he just was very calm, saying he's not ready, he needs time, that sort of thing. But it was every press conference he had it. And then when he did play him, he was dreadful. So, yeah.
So with Yoshi, was it a stunt publicity to get more eyes on the club, or
Yeah, it's make money.
That's there was never really an intention for him to become a number one goalie.
They thought if he could come to Pompey, they could match. He was described at the time as the David Beckham of Japan, not because of the way he
And
played football, the way fans
then,
looked, the way he looked, the way fans liked him, and they expected to sell a lot of shirts in Japan, marketing deals and such lot. But it never happened because Pompey didn't have the infrastructure for a start, and the organisation. There were suggestions that people promised much to Milan and didn't deliver as well as part of the deal, which wasn't Milan's fault, but it didn't make anything really in the end. And when he left, I think he went to Sweden or Norway for nothing, I think, in the end. So I think they even cancelled his contract. So it was disastrous, really. And he was poor. Lovely lad, a great shot stopper by all accounts, but he struggled with the physicality. And he tried to learn English and he tried to integrate. He tried to do all that. Fair play to him, but it was just it wasn't going to happen.
he had a great game against Man City. I remember that as his one and only good performance.
I remember his game against Leyton Orient at home in the FA Cup,
Yeah,
which I still regard as the worst Pompey performance I've ever seen.
yeah, definitely.
Wow, that was. He spoke to the Japanese journalist afterwards, and he was in tears. I think there was one goal, wasn't there, when they scored from a free kick and he wasn't ready or something like that. He didn't realise they could take it so quickly or something like that. I don't know.
I think he was still lining the wall up or something, wasn't he?
He's just it was. I felt sorry for him because he was basically used to make money for Pompey, and then in the end, when Pompey didn't realise it wasn't going to happen, they bombed him off. And Fred Darnish tells a story about how he was asked to accompany Milan and the translator to go around to Yosh's house or apartment in Port Solent and deliver the news that he was no longer required by Pompey. And Yoshi started crying in front of them. And Fred said it could have been my son, so Fred hugged him and showed him a bit of sympathy. But
To show how harsh football can be.
Well, it is. It's absolutely brutal football, as we all know. But it does, doesn't it? It does. It does. The poor lad, he tried everything, but he just wasn't good enough. And because he wasn't a cash cow that was expected, there was no point in staying.
So when Milan, obviously, he sold 60%, was it, to Guy Demac to start off with?
Yeah, it was half the club to start off with.
What was the reason for him deciding to sell and kind of move on? Obviously, it kind of felt it was a bit more like for the short term. Kind of every club he's been at, it's been like a short stint of 5-6 years, or less, rather than like a good 10-20 year ownership.
Yeah, simply it was to make money. That's why Milan sold it. He made a profit. But you can't blame him. He put a lot of money in, a lot of time and effort, took Pompey to the Premier League and cashed in on it. So I've got no argument with that whatsoever. So
No, that's true.
that's why he did it. It was initially at 50%, and then Guy Demac took over completely in September 2006. And I think Milan made profits in all three clubs, didn't he? Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday. He was no mug.
He was good at, I think that if St. God might never come, that was as far as Mandaric could take us. I don't think we would have ever got to the heights. I mean,
no, that's very
we
fair.
probably would have got relegated that season if it weren't for the money coming in January.
Yes, so he did exactly. Yeah, I think it's spot on there because you got Sean Davis and Pedro Mendes came in, didn't they? And Pamaro and D'Alessandro and all those sort of people came in, didn't they? Benjiani. So that they all came in, and even people like Routledge, they helped Pompey stay up, didn't they? So yeah, that was the influx of money which Milan didn't have. So yeah, that's a very good point.
I haven't got any more questions. Daz, Russ, you've got anything else?
I was just going to say, is there a Milan story you haven't told? Well, maybe necessarily not told ever, but I mean tonight, that really always sticks in your mind and either makes you laugh or.
There's two. One of my favourite ones this was a long one. I wrote about it sometime anyway, but this is, I think Redknapp said this in my last book. But anyway, basically, when Pompey played Man City in their first Premier League away game, and it was at Man City's new ground. And the night before, they went for a meal. So it was Story, Harry Redknapp, Milan, Fred Dinage, and they were discussing signing players. And Milan wanted to sign some Italian left back or whatever. Sorry, Harry wanted to sign this Italian left back, and Milan said, Harry, you keep saying this is a left back, but Peter Story's son's checked his name out on Football Manager, and he's actually a central defender. And Harry goes, no, he's a left back. And then him and Milan started getting into an argument. That's how petty it was. Now, because Harry was being challenged and ridiculed, and Milan was trying to put him straight, and they had a big argument. And it got so volatile, the argument between the pair of them. Harry called Milan the C word quite a few times.
Oh.
So next day, Harry used to like sitting in the director's box for matches, didn't he? He had a spell of sitting in the director's box. And next day, Milan and Harry, who normally sat next to each other, they sat at the upper end of the box. Nowhere near each other. Nowhere near each other. Harry claims that on the Monday, and I actually have seen this letter, on the Monday he got a letter through the post with a warning, an official warning from Pompey on headed notepaper describing the incident and the C word that Harry kept calling Milan.
Jesus.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Harry says, it's the letter. He goes, the letter said I called him 15 times. He goes, it wasn't. It was 25.
That's brilliant. Do we even know who the player was they were arguing over?
No. But anyway, Tuesday night, Bolton are visiting Fratton Park. So
4-0. Yep.
So Harry's in the director's box. Milan's not talking to him. He's at one side of the box. Milan's at the other. And then Pompey win 4-0 to go top of the Premier League. End of the game. Milan goes over to Harry and goes, Harry, my friend, come here. I gave him a big hug, and all was forgotten. And that's what the pair of them were like. They'd argue like that, and when they made up, there was never any grudges. It was always the pair of them. You know, I've had falling outs with Redknapp and all sorts, but it doesn't matter a grudge. It was all gone the next day, and Milan was the same as well. So it just sums the pair of them up really. They just argue over little things, and it gets big. And then as soon as Pompey get top of the league, it's all forgiven, isn't it? Amazing.
What was the other story? You said you had two?
Yeah. The other ones, Fred Dinage told me this one, that in the championship season, Harry Redknapp was badgering Milan for more players, bare bones, and all that sort of stuff. And Fred said that Pompey played Stoke at home and drew. And after, I think they drew anyway. And afterwards, there was going to be a supporters event in the Victory Lounge, which Harry and Milan were meant to be attending. Anyway, as Fred puts it, after the game, Milan was up there in the boardroom on his own. And Fred said Milan started drinking white wine, which was never a good sign, he said. Harry was doing press and all sorts and turned up quite late to the boardroom, which irritated Milan even more. And then Fred says, then Harry was given a glass of red wine by John Jenkins, and Fred said that wasn't a good sign either. And then they start arguing. Harry, bare bones, give me a player. Milan said, no, you're not. No, you've had enough. No more money. And the argument got so bad that Milan threw his white wine over Harry, and Harry threw his red wine over Milan, which also went on the walls behind them.
Excellent.
Now, with that, Harry storms out. I quit. Milan storms out. That's it. I'm selling the club. And there's a supporters function downstairs that night. So Fred and Jim Smith instead had to take the supporters function and gloss it over. It's like, thing went well. That they glossed it over. But Fred, being Fred, was very canny, and he thought, "I'll cheer Milan up." So he rang Milan, and he got the fans to chant, "There's only one Milan," uh, down the phone to him, which he appreciated, being Milan. Anyway, next day, Milan rang up Fred, regretting it, going, "Oh, I've upset Harry, haven't I? Or what can I do? What can I do to make him happy again?" And Fred said, "Well, Milan, I think the only thing for it is to get a player. Get him a player." And Milan goes, "Okay, ring Harry, tell him he can have a player." So Fred rang up Harry. "Harry, it's all right. Milan said you can have a player. Who do you want?" And Harry goes, "Thierry Henry then." And they went, "Oh, very, yeah, very funny, very funny." So Harry went and got a player. And his name was Yakubu.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
Lightning.
thank God he threw some wine over him.
Now, please bear in mind these are stories from Milan, Fred Dardage and Harry. They might not be that accurate, but that's what they said anyway. But you get these stories over the years, don't you? They tend to get embellished, like Benjani in the airport and all sorts. But yeah, so I've heard this story from Fred and a bit from Harry as well. And yeah, so apparently that's how Yakubu ended up being at Fratton Park.
Wow.
Blimey.
And what a signing he was.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, that just shows the relationship between the pair of them. Even Peter Storey described it as a love-hate relationship. It really was, but they were big friends, big friends. So even after they left, for years, Peter Storey and Redknapp would meet Milan for a meal whenever he came back to England, whether it was in Portsmouth, whether it was in London. They were genuine friends, and they maintained that to the point of they both saw him in June with his last visit to England before he passed away. So yeah, and then you can imagine the pair of them telling their stories, laughing over the arguments and things, and I think that's just a lovely thing for them to do. Really, the fact that they had that friendship, and when Harry spoke to the news, spoke to Radio Solent and whoever in the days following Milan's death, he did so with affection because he wanted to, because it was his friend. And yeah, it's just lovely to think back to those old days and talk about them, because they were great times, and those people involved, Redknapp and Milan Mandaric, always deserve to be mentioned, because it was down to them. And we can all criticise people and players who don't perform, but those two performed for the good of Pompey Football Club and took them to the Premier League for the first time in the club's history, and gave so many wonderful memories to so many supporters.
That's it, and I think that's why he will always be treasured and always remain in our memories as you know, as there's only one Milan who is a legend of the club, because you know, without him coming in when we were where we were, we might not be here, and it's happened multiple times, that situation. And to go from within 3 years, 4 years of basically not being here any longer, to having Premier League football, you've projected yourself into kind of godlike status in being able to produce that for us.
Well, the other thing is, how many owners have 3 English football clubs and leave every football club with the fans actually liking them?
Well,
It's
yeah,
crazy,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I said towards the start when I started talking about him. It's I can't think of another owner where that's happened with. Well, off the top of my head, anyway.
Well,
No.
especially you
Yeah,
think normally when an owner leaves and they go, or they're linked to another club, you're like, yeah, well, what do you think? Oh, look, you want to stay away from him. He's a bit dodgy. He's a bit this.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
crap. But everyone like, oh no, you'll love him. You'll love him. And then he goes to Leicester. Oh no, you love him. Wednesday. Oh no, you'll love him too. It's like
yeah.
everyone, pretty much everyone, just loved him. He was just one of those guys that just got it, and he got every club. He got football, and I think that's why it worked so well.
I thought it was just unfortunate that Pompey and Sheffield Wednesday, he sold to some awful owners after him, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, he couldn't predict that, could he?
No, but
No.
he did sell to very good owners at Leicester who are still there. So yeah, it's and then it's complete contrast, wasn't it? The ownership styles of Geidemak and the people after him as well, who who just had no interest in football or the football club, didn't they? Basically, so,
Well,
until the trust came in to save them.
well, when we were first in trouble in the early 2010s, I always hoped he would. I can't remember if he was with Sheffield Wednesday at that point or wasn't. I always hoped he'd come back and save us. But I can't remember if he was at Sheffield Wednesday or not at that point.
And also football's changed as well. And even someone who's wealthy as Milan, clubs are more wealthy than him in the end. You know, you need a lot more money these days, don't you?
Yeah.
For a football club. And so I last met him in October last year at the Marriott. I had an hour-long interview with him, which hopefully will appear in the next book. And he was 86, and he looked so good for his age. Unbelievable, incredible. Really looked after himself. You'd never have guessed he was 86.
No. So with Prozinecki, was that did he come as a favour to Milan?
Yes, I spoke to Prozinecki, and he said the same thing. Prozinecki, Milan knew Prozinecki's dad very well, and it was a case of Milan went through that route, and Prozinecki goes with Milan. If Milan Mandaric wants me, yes, I'll come to Pompey. And Milan often said that it wasn't even for a lot of money either.
Just a shed load of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Milan describes it as his gift to Pompey, didn't he? Really. Always had a great way with words, Milan, didn't he? And I also he's always talking about self as being a caretaker of the football club, and he was spot on. Yeah, and no, it's a shame. It's a shame because I was meant to meet him in London in June, and I spoke to him on the phone a few times about meeting him, and in the end we couldn't quite get something organised, and it's a shame because it would have been great to meet him one final time, really.
Yeah, I suppose obviously it's quite crazy how sort of life works out. That obviously it happened. Obviously, Milan passed away. Obviously, the weekend when we played Middlesbrough, and then obviously our next game is away at Leicester.
Yeah.
Is there any? Because I'm guessing Leicester, both Leicester and us will want to do something. Have they got any plans in place to do anything?
I'm not sure at the moment. It's
No.
sort of people have been off because it's been international week, so I'll follow that up next week when people are back. But you'd hope so. You'd imagine show from both sides because both fans hold him in such high regard.
Yeah, and I'd imagine we'll do something, one of the two home games as well. Following that, we'll have our our own
I hope
one.
so. He
I
deserves.
remember,
He
I remember
deserves it.
Pompey had a friendly at Leicester after he left as well, actually, and the fans gave him a presentation on the pitch to Pompey fans. I'm sure I remember that as well. Yeah, it needs to be something fitting, really, and also the family there in charge of Leicester, they bought the club from Milan and they hold him in high regard as well, which helps. So you'd imagine there'd be something happening, but obviously that majority of that will be down for Leicester to organise.
Do you think a statue or something would be too far for the impact he made?
It's a difficult one because I've read some people saying, well, other people need statues first, and and then we're going to get arguments, aren't we? You know, you try
Yeah,
and
that
discuss
is true.
you dare to discuss that on Twitter and Facebook, blimey, it's going to explode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. So it's up to people what they think.
Well, I think I don't know how you maybe like a plaque or some kind of area dedicated to him or something.
Yeah,
If not a statue, because obviously the only statue we've got is for Jimmy Dickinson. But then you could you could have, as you say, you could have 15 statues outside Fratton Park. Otherwise,
yeah, and who's going to pay for it? Because the Jimmy Dickens statue was paid for by the trust supporters, and there was also an ownership, also a donation from the owners as well, quite a substantial one. So
yeah,
it's viewed as a fan creative thing.
What about
So
like
and
changing?
I do think it's a shame that Milan never got inducted in the Pompey Hall of Fame as well. I know they've revamped it recently and they've started putting club members, and Alan Ball was in the last one and stuff. And you really think Milan Mandaric and Harry Redknapp need to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, especially Harry, while you still can. You've got to make the most of these people. I'll never forget when I interviewed Harry Redknapp for my last book. I had 3 hours with him, and I was sitting there thinking, you never know. This is my last chance. I've had such a long chat with Harry Redknapp. You've got to speak to them and get the stories while you can. Yeah, I'd like to see Harry and Milan inducted into the Pompey Hall of Fame as staff members, not in terms of obviously football players.
What about like maybe even changing the Victory Lounge to the Mandaric Lounge or the Milan Lounge or something? You know.
Yeah, but it's difficult though, isn't it? Because these owners have got nothing to do with Milan, have they, as well?
Yeah, it's true. I do think he deserves. You know, without him, we might not be here today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, because obviously Pompey administration facing folding, and then he saved them. So yeah, it's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I think he deserves something.
Do you know what I thought was really sad at the time when he came back in October? He was in the director's box, but there was never an announcement to the fans he was there. And
No, I didn't even know until recently.
No, and I always felt that was a shame because normally just announce him and the fans. There's only one Milan and he waves. It's brilliant, and it was just a bit low key, and it's a shame. It's a shame, really, that didn't happen.
Especially as you say, you know, he would have liked the attention off of it.
Oh, he would have.
So
Yeah.
even you know you get some people you could have got him down at half time just to kind of come on the pitch and wave, or even as you say, just from the director's box he kind of waved from there.
Yeah,
It would
but I mean,
it would have been nice.
I've got to go in a minute, but just to say that the thing about Milan is that he knew the fans loved him. You know, it's not a case of he passed away and no one told him what they really thought of him, how much they adored him. He knew. Every Pompey fan he met told them. You know, and Milan loves speaking to fans. He knew he was adored by this football club in no uncertain terms. That was made clear to him. So people told him constantly what it meant to them. And I'm glad they did because it was his favourite football club, his favourite times in football. So yeah, he had that.
Lovely. Well, we're going to end it there anyway. So thank you so much for giving up your about an hour or 45 minutes of your time, Neil. We really appreciate it with your stories.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, cheers,
Yeah,
Neil.
thanks, Neil.
It's
Yeah.
obviously
Okay,
we can have our memories, but obviously to hear the insight and like the little win stories is it just helps to like sort of brings it everything else more to life.
What though? I think Michael Doyle would have Herman O'Reillyson.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to say. Well, I'm not going to tell Michael Doyle if I ever meet him which way I voted.
Did you go Herman then?
Well, it's just because Herman was bigger. Like
Oh,
I thought I went with that, and he looks like Herman looks like if he gets older, you're never getting loose. Because I think I've heard loads of people's like Pompey
Anyway, I've
players.
got to go, chaps. I've got to
Go for it,
ring
mate.
someone
Yeah.
else now.
yeah,
Cheers,
no
thanks for
worries, Neil.
inviting
See you
me.
later,
Thanks
mate.
very much.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Right.
Bye.
Daz, how could you
Well,
vote against Doyle?
because I was going to say, like, I've heard like podcasts stuff like that of like Herman O'Reilly and the fact that he's an absolute unit, and two, once he gets hold of you, you can't get out of it. So
Someone commented and went they're voting on it by who would win in a fight out of the two. Like, is it? He's like imagining them in a ring,
but
and like,
that is the thing. Like, so, I know, like, sort of, obviously, Michael Doyle was obviously, yeah, like as Neil was saying, a bit angry when it comes to that sort of stuff. But it's always the sort of big boys that like are that are strong. They're the ones that if you get on the wrong side of them and tick them off, that you don't stand a chance. Like it's like Lenny from Not Mice and Men. Do you know? Big old
God's
unit.
sake.
And if you piss him off, that's it. You're
He's
done.
going to
you,
squeeze you like a mouse.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
he's digging this hole, isn't he, Russ? And he's just getting
He is.
deeper.
I can't wait if we ever bump into Michael Doyle. I'll be like, Michael,
Please do
maybe
meet
we should
our
get him on the
friend that
pod.
does it. Please meet our friend who thinks Herman. He's like, you fucking what?
Yeah, I voted. I couldn't believe Dortmund didn't win it. But
No,
there you
me
go.
neither. Wow.
That's the thing. I'm not saying Michael. I'm trying. Michael,
You
don't
hear
hurt
you hear
me.
the panic in his voice. I'm
Michael,
not
don't
saying.
hurt me.
I'm
Don't
not
hurt me,
saying.
Michael.
Well, you've
Yeah.
got Mick Kennedy's absolutely smashing Martin Allen at the minute. He's 80% to 20%.
Yeah, well, that's. I'll be surprised if Mick Kennedy don't win this. So.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, boys, before we finish?
No, I
No,
think it's good.
no.
It's good. Like, I think it's good that we just obviously dedicate the whole episode to Milan Mandaric, and obviously again thanks to Neil coming on, as I said, like getting those inside stories and stuff like that. Really, sort of, as I
Yeah,
said,
because the whole duck thing makes sense now, doesn't it?
yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know if it was a culture thing, like because obviously he's what is he Croatian or
Serbian, isn't it?
Serbian.
Serbian? That's it. Yeah. So I didn't know if it was like a Serbian thing to do, is like send someone a dead duck, like it's like the Italians sending someone a like horse's head. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know if it was that kind of thing, but now it makes sense. Duck hunting, yeah, it makes much more sense now.
Lovely. Well, I think that's a lovely place to finish.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be back next Thursday where we will review the Middlesbrough game, preview the Leicester game, and a few other bits and bobs as well. Harry's Who Am I, Russ's Taskmaster, and Daz's Blind Rankings.
Have you both got your Dazelle song ready? Because you've
No,
had ages now.
no, I haven't. I haven't touched it, mate. To be honest, I can't be asked.
No, I
Right,
haven't yet.
If I'm
I've,
honest,
I've got
you got
sort
to
of
do it as.
I've got
I came up with my own song, and that wasn't good enough, so I can't
No,
be asked.
right, no,
I'm doing it. I'll do it. I'll do
you've
it. I'll get
got
the
to
points.
you've got to do it. You got to do it.
Daz can just have the win for that week.
If you don't do it, then you're doing a forfeit yourself.
I'm not thinking of. I
Oh,
can't be asked, mate. I've
I don't care if you can be asked or not.
got more
If you don't,
got more important things to do.
me and Daz will think of a forfeit for you.
yeah.
I made up my own song, so I should get even more credit.
You get the credit for making up your own song. I
You're
gave you the credit at the time.
you're gonna have your last game of the season. You have to sport an R9 haircut, Jerry, and you have to let the front bit grow out proper long as well.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You think I'm doing that? You got another thing coming.
You won't
Anyway,
have a choice.
we'll discuss this next week when I definitely come up with a song. Thank you to Neil once again for joining us and sharing his story. Thank you to everyone who has listened. We'll be popping this on the platforms in a bit, as we normally do, and we'll see you next week. Have a nice week, boys.
And you, mate.
And you, mate.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.
Bye.